Hello, welcome to Neon Academy's web series. My name is Felix, and today's episode is centered around the University of Adelaide. This video will focus on the university's strengths and how this information can benefit current and prospective students. And of course, if you have any questions or are interested in studying an MBA at the University of Adelaide, then leave us a comment. We will be sure to get back to you as soon as possible.
Welcome, Damien. Thank you so much for joining us today. I believe this session would be quite helpful for our potential students as well as currently students who are already studying in the program. All right, so I would like to start off with maybe if you can introduce University of Adelaide and speak about their strengths and key points for our students to understand.
Sure, and thank you, Jay. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello to anyone who's actually watching this. So look, the University of Adelaide, no doubt you've done some of your research, as you should when you're looking at all sorts of programs, but the University of Adelaide is quite a significant university in the world stage. We represent the top 1%, which is a remarkable thing when you think about it. There's about 28 to 30,000 universities. They come and go and they amalgamate and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of universities around the world, and to be around about the top 100 is extraordinarily significant. We're actually quite a small city in a reasonably small country, in the sense that we're a large country, but we're only a very small population. So even though we're a small city and a small university, we well and truly punch way above our weight. We've been around for almost 150 years now, so that we're the third oldest university in Australia, and we're affiliated with 5 Nobel Prize winners, which is quite remarkable. Once again, the most Nobel Prize winners any university has been associated with in Australia, and a number of those have led on to other Nobel Prize winners at universities around the world. So for a small university, we're very proud, but of course, you can't just rely on your past. Universities are about the future, so we're very future looking as well, and we can take some confidence in what we've done in the past to make sure that what we're doing in the future and the present, of course, is very relevant.
All right, so you touch base on some of the world ranking as well. You said top 1% in the world. Maybe if you can elaborate more on the group of 8 university in Australia and its importance and how it affects the world ranking of the university as well.
Yes, of course, Jay. You would probably be familiar with the Ivy League in America and the Russell Group in the UK. Well, the Group of 8 is analogous to that. They are the most significant, prestigious universities in Australia. There's about 32 universities in Australia, but 8 remain the most research intensive. In other words, they attract most funding from various bodies because of their calibre and their capability. So the university is part of that group of 8. So they sit within that very high elite level. Now, where elite is not to be considered that we consider ourselves above anyone. We just have superior capabilities, and other universities have capabilities in other areas, and that's wonderful. But we're recognised for the extraordinary capacity and capability to deliver in a number of very important areas, not just for our country, but for the world.
All right, understand that. Also, since we are talking about world ranking again, right, there are a couple of accreditations given to the university, to the business school as well. Maybe if you can touch point upon, like, say, accreditations like AACSB.
Yes, of course. Well, there's only 3 accreditation bodies for business schools around the world. AACSB, or the Association for the Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business, that's out of the US. There's also EQUIS out of the Europe, and AMBA out of the UK. AMBA's probably not the most significant of any of those 3. So the 2 most significant ones are AACSB and EQUIS. We're currently in the process of getting EQUIS accreditation, but we have had actual AACSB now for well over 5 years. AACSB is probably the most significant accreditation in the world. Less than 5% of business schools have that accreditation. It's very difficult to get. Of those schools, you'll recognise most of them: Harvard, Stanford, MIT, and here in Australia, Melbourne, UQ, Adelaide. Now, accreditation is not about just getting the badge. The accreditation is actually making sure that we're recognised in the world as reaching world's best practice. And so we're benchmarked, and we benchmark ourselves to make sure when we start redeveloping some of our curriculum, we don't just do it in isolation to ourselves, we actually look at what world's best practice is. So that accreditation gives us a discipline to make sure that we are actually looking at what Harvard and Stanford do. We don't have to copy them, but we have to actually reach certain standards. And there's a fair bit of work that goes behind the designing of a curriculum. We map our learning outcomes, we look at our assessment, we look at our graduate attributes. These are all linked and mapped together to make sure that when you leave the university with a parchment that says you have a Master of Business Administration, which is the program I'm responsible for, you would have reached a very high level, and that is recognised around the world and accredited by AACSB.
All right. So maybe if you can also touch base, how does that will help our potential student? So once they graduate or even during their studies, will this accreditation help in any way? Like you touch point on the assessment criteria, development of the modules, which is also connected to this accreditation. So how does that help the students?
Well, of course, Jay, as you'd be familiar, and all your potential candidates would be, there are many, many MBAs out there in the world that you can choose from. And so you have to think about, well, okay, what would an employer be looking for? How would they judge the quality of an MBA? Now, clearly an MBA is only one component. Employers don't employ MBAs, they employ people. And those people have a certain level of qualification, they have certain personal attributes. Now, what AACSB will do is it will give a stamp of approval for employers to say, wow, so they've reached a certain level, they hold certain standards that are very high, they benchmark themselves against world's best practice. So I can actually put the MBA aside to say that reaches a level of quality that I'm happy with. So it just takes a lot of the risk out of the assessment of the quality of the MBA. And of course, it's not just accreditation, they can then just look at other aspects of rankings associated with the university. And clearly, our MBA also is ranked number 2 in Australia, which once again, for a small university and a small MBA, that is a remarkable effort. To think that, out of all the MBAs in Australia, we are ranked number 2. And there's only 2 accreditation bodies within Australia that rank MBAs. One is the Australian Financial Review BOSS rankings, which we are number 2. And there's another one called the Graduate Management Association of Australia, and they provide a ranking from 1 to 5 stars, and for many years now we've been at 5 stars, so we're in the top tier ranking. There is also a CEO magazine, and we've been in the top tier in their rankings throughout the world, so that's actually a world ranking MBA. So if you were to look up the CEO magazine, you'll find the University of Adelaide's MBA is in the top tier, and we have been in the top tier for quite some time now.
Wow. That's I think very, very important aspect to know for the potential student to select an MBA which can make their journey far more better than, like as you said, there are lots and lots of MBAs are available, but the one to choose for is the criteria is very, very important.
Yes. And what you may not know, Jay, is that recently the university's business school has been accredited with the first and only Entrepreneurial Accredited Business School. There's a very difficult world entrepreneurial accreditation, and Australia's first entrepreneurial accredited business school is the University of Adelaide. So for those that have an interest in entrepreneurship, then I can assure you that we have a really top flight capability, and we can introduce that in the MBA if necessary as well and beyond. So we have an array of, capabilities that are recognised worldwide.
Wow, Damien, that's amazing. Congratulations for that to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Joe.
For the achievement. Okay, moving forward, since this program is available in Singapore at Ngee Ann Academy, maybe if you can touch base the history of University of Adelaide coming to Singapore offering their program. I understand there's a history of 20 over years offering this MBA program in Singapore. So maybe if you can touch base on that.
Sure. Well, actually, the history of Singapore and Adelaide goes a long way back through the Colombo plan. In fact, there's been two of your presidents and a more recent one, Tony Teo, who are graduates of the University of Adelaide. In fact, Tony Teo received an honorary doctorate, even though he's already a doctor. Received an honorary doctorate a few years ago, which I had the pleasure of attending his graduation. So there's been a long history with the University of Adelaide and Singapore as a country. A number of ministers as well in your government over the years have been graduates. So because of that long-standing relationship and your place in Asia, you're on the footstep of Southeast Asia. You're also a country that has a strong commitment to education, as Australia does. And so we chose Singapore to build, I guess, a footprint for education in Southeast Asia. And we wanted to build on that relationship that we have had through the Colombo plan and beyond. And so about 22 years ago, we established a campus, with Ngee, which has been a wonderful relationship. So we've had a long history there. The first program that we offered was the MBA.
Oh, wow.
So that's rather lovely. It was the pioneering program, and I actually, at the time, I wasn't working for the university, but I did sit on the advisory board for the MBA, and I remember approving that move into Singapore with great delight. So it's wonderful to come back into the university now, and by the way, I'm an MBA graduate as well, so it's wonderful to come back into the university and see the progress of that relationship. And it's wonderful to see that 22 years later we're still there and we hold a very good position in the Singapore market. And so we have a great relationship, and we want to continue to build our position there. Obviously we have our challenges at the moment with COVID-19, but that will pass, and we will continue to grow and prosper and build our relationships with Ngee and Singapore and Adelaide.
Absolutely, we are committed for the same as well. And no wonder the design of the MBA program is excellent, because of the fact that you yourself has been studying this program as well, and you might have been important.
Thank you guys for staying till the end of this episode. Tune in for the next web series for more educational insights. Like and follow our page to stay up to date with our posts and web series. Till next time.